Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. Today we we are going to start reading the commentary of Bhagavadgita Shankaracharya Deva on the 9th Sutra of the Brahma Sutras. But before we do that, it would be appropriate to just remind ourselves, why are we studying the Brahma Sutras? This was done when we started the study of Brahma Sutras, when we also started studying Adhyasa Bhashya, that is Bhagavadgita Shankaracharya Deva's excellent introduction to his own commentary on the Brahma Sutras. During these times, we try to study, try to understand what is the purpose of studying Brahma Sutras. But because we have since then come a long way, I think it is only pertinent that we remind ourselves of the need for studying Brahma Sutras. The need for studying Brahma Sutras is to establish without any doubt, without any skepticism in our minds that we are truly Atman or Brahman. The 5 sheaths or 5 koshas that we see, Annamaya Kosha, Pranamaya Kosha, Manomaya Kosha, Vijnanamaya Kosha and Anandamaya Kosha, all these coverings are untrue, unreal. And we are Brahman alone. This we have to get established in this. We have to have an unshakable conviction about this. And it is to this end that we study the Brahma Sutras. Not to become a Pandit, not to gain skills of arguing, or also not to claim scholarship of the Brahma Sutras or of the Indian philosophy, but to be established in the knowledge that Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. So if I am Brahman, needless to say, I am not the body, I am not the prana. In this pandemic times, severe times, let us not belittle the suffering. The suffering is huge, but it is in the face of this huge suffering that we should remember that we are Brahman. Because when a person has got good health and is sufficiently taken care of, necessities of life are all taken care of, has good accommodation and people to look after that person, then probably sitting in a comfortable zone, that person could say, Aham Brahmasmi. But that is not what we need. When things go not the way we expect them to go, when we are facing unfavorable circumstances, it is then that we should be firmly established in the conviction that, or the knowledge that I am Brahman. And the story of Raja Harishchandra is that, though the story usually is cited as an example of practicing truthfulness, which of course it is, it's an example, great example of practicing truthfulness. But I think it is more an example for how to hold on to one's ideal in face of miseries, in face of unfavorable circumstances, in the face of all kinds of exploitation and suffering. So on those lines, in that direction, our study, Swadhyaya of Brahma Sutra should help. And we should constantly do soul searching. We should constantly ask ourselves whether that is what is happening in this Swadhyaya. This is very important, because that is the purpose of the commentary of Bhagavad Shankaracharya Deva or the commentaries of other acharyas, to know that the here and now is not our true reality, that our true reality can be understood or realized in the here and the now, but it is not what we see, what we understand of ourselves. So this is very important. And believe me, this knowledge, though I don't like to use the word liberate, because it has definitely Eurocentric and Western connotations, but for the lack of a better word, this knowledge definitely liberates you. Suddenly you are in a state where nothing affects you. I don't mean like nothing affects you means once a medical professional told me that a diabetic usually does not feel mosquitoes. Okay, so that is because that person's skin becomes the tactile perception, it becomes little dull, so they don't feel things generally. So people might misunderstand that to be some kind of spiritual attainment. I'm not talking in that sense that you are unable to empathize, you are unable to, you lose your sensitivity, not in that sense. But you know, you are definitely, your senses are completely working. But at the same time, you suddenly realize the meaninglessness of the entire universe. And the only meaning, that is your true nature. And that just happens in a flash. You suddenly realize that. And then you realize that there is nothing else to do here. So we know great masters like Ramana Maharshi. He used to say, be as you are, or you just be. So what does it mean? There is nothing to do. Why? Even approaching this problem from a devotee standpoint, in the Bhagavadgita, Sri Krishna tells Arjuna, Sarvarambha Parityagi, a person who has given up all undertakings. Why? Because everything is done by God. And in the Manisha Panchakam, Bhagavad Shankaracharya Deva says, Prarabdhaya samarpitam swavapuhu, Guru Rityesha Manisha Mama. So one who has surrendered one's body and mind, etc. One who has surrendered one's empirical existence or one's worldly existence to Prarabdha Karma. So as long as Prarabdha Karma is there, it will take its own course. And so there is nothing we can do. If at all you have to do something, Prarabdha will make you do. The idea that I am the doer, the idea that I am the experiencer, the idea that I am the agency, and also the idea that I am part of the experience or an event is a wrong idea. It's a false notion. It's not true. It's simply not true. And that's why it is compared with mirage. And so nowadays mirage happens, as we have seen earlier also, on the tar road. Even the other day I was traveling in Kozhikode, Calicut, and I saw that just at some distance, I saw there was so much water on the road. it was afternoon. So much water, and water was shining like anything. When I went near there was no water, of course. That was just sun. So this is not true, simply not true. That's why it is compared with mirage. It is simply not true. It is not there. It never was. And once we understand that everything is like that, just imagine when you suffer a lot. After 10 years and 20 years and 30 years, when you are recounting that suffering, because most people spend most of their time only recounting, not living actually. They're just, and if you do it more often, that means you have become old. That's another thing. Even that becoming old is also not true, because you are Atman. So you don't have, so you are not old, you are not new. But when we recount after 2 decades or so, 3 decades or so, then at that point in time, it's just a memory. And many a times that memory also has lost its virulence, so to say. So we say, oh yes, it was like that. That person was very bad. But then we feel that really was that person bad? Could be 2 reasons. One is that has faded and it has lost its effect. Another one is we have got some kind of dementia. We have forgotten what actually happened. Either way, it does not make much difference after some time. So it is not true. It is not true that your existence is dependent on the body. It is not true that your existence is dependent on any of the 5 koshas. And now that we are going to study the 9th sutra, which will bring up a very important aspect of our existence, that is the aspect of deep sleep, which hasn't been understood by anybody. So we boast of scientific achievements. What scientific achievement? No one till date has understood how does a person go to deep sleep and why on earth does that person come back? See, this is the beauty. Going to deep sleep, anyway, that happens. Why do you come back? So only Vedanta has been able to explain this phenomenon. Because of ignorance, you come back. And that body which you have when you are in deep sleep is called the causal body, Karana Sharira, which is nothing but your ignorance. And so though you have both gross body and subtle body present while you are in deep sleep, they are not acting. They are inactive. This is again something which cannot be explained. Sleep and deep sleep have always been elusive enigma for the human mind. It cannot be. With so much of technology, we are unable to understand what is happening there. So that means whatever we boast of having done in the waking state, and whatever we daydream or dream otherwise, has no meaning basically. Because all this has no meaning, and that is why it does not give us anything which is lasting, of lasting importance or lasting happiness, lasting bliss or lasting value even. We don't get. Everything is changing. This we have to remember. This we have to remember all the time. And every time we remember this. So even if it is a prick of a thorn, say of the rose plant, which is not a big pain, or it might be a heart attack, which is called cardiac arrest, whatever, or myocardial infarction, depending on how much knowledge you want to flaunt to others, you call it like that. Whatever you get, or it might be something like cerebral stroke, all these pains are unreal. So not just during pain, but also during pleasure, when you suppose you are served something which is very delicious food, or you hear some pleasant song, etc. Recently Lata Mangeshkar passed away. I don't think any time earlier, I don't know, of course, I have not checked it, but I don't think any time earlier in India, independent India, for a singer's death, the nation mourned. I don't think so. It has to be checked anyway. Fact has to be checked. So she passed away. So if there is Lata Mangeshkar's song, so that is a very beautiful experience. You see some, say you go to Himalayas or you see some good scenery, beautiful experience. So constantly, when you are having pain and also when you are having pleasure in terms of wonderful sense experiences, all the time we have to remember that I am not this body and the mind and the intellect and the Anandamaya Kosha and the prana. All the time. No matter what the magnitude of that experience be. All the time if we remember this, then believe me, there comes a state when you don't need to put any extra effort to remember this. In the devotional way also, in the devotional path also, Prahlada, who is considered to be a great devotee, of course, was not constantly doing japa, taking the name of Lord Narayana. Though he was telling others to take the name of Lord Narayana, he himself was so entrenched in Lord's name that he didn't have to do it separately. That is the beauty. So when he was, when the Hiranya Kashipu, his father, was trying to kill him by various methods, he never said, oh God, pray me or something. Nothing of that sort happened. He was so entrenched in devotion that his very being became the representation of devotion. That is the ultimate parabhakti. Similarly, there is a state where you are constantly entrenched in the knowledge that you are Atman. Even in sleep, even in dream, somebody tells you something, and then you cannot say that I am the body, like that I have got fever, or my body has got fever. Even in dream, it gets so much entrenched into your being that you are aware that no, I am not the body and the mind. That happens. So for that to happen, one has to constantly, because constantly I'm saying, because it is very easy to do lip service to these intellectual gymnastics, because without sadhana, all this study of shastras is nothing but intellectual gymnastics. So you see, what we are studying is studied by professors, is studied by great pandits. I know of many people who study this and then they say, this is there, that they can quote the commentary. They have memorized most parts of the commentary of Shankaracharya on Brahma Sutra. But at the end of the day, they say, Swamiji, in the house, there is so much of lack of peace, so much of distress, constantly fighting quarrels with the wife. What to do, Swamiji? No, it is not just husband who says, wife also sometimes say, depending on who is talking. So, Swamiji, it is so bad. So that is why now and then I study this Brahma Sutra, and so mind gets little light. So that is not what is intended. That then would become only intellectual gymnastics, or a kind of putting your mind into some kind of slumber. That is not what we need. We have to, every second, every moment, we have to think and remind ourselves that I am not the body, I am not the mind, I am not the prana, I am not the Vijnanamaya Kosha, I am not the Anandamaya Kosha. Only then this study will become fruitful. Fruit, what is the fruit? Brahma Atma Aikya Jnana. The knowledge of the identity of Brahman and Atman. That I am not different from Brahman. That means I don't need to identify myself as an agent. I don't need to identify myself as a doer or an experiencer. And then what happens? The life then thereafter is only Kalakshepa. It's just passing time. Then the whole world becomes a big stage, or to use a contemporary terminology, big OTT platform. So all this Hotstar, Prime Video, Netflix, everything put together, and you can enjoy the universe. You can just be just be, that's all. You don't need to do anything. And so over and over again, people, great masters like Ramana Maharshi have told this, Nisargadatta Maharaj, all that people. And over again, people have misunderstood them. Like I know of many people who think they have understood Ramana Maharshi. All they want to do is go to deep sleep. So they try to sleep and then they say, we will understand Atman. So such foolish things will happen. Why? Because you have not combined sadhana. You have not combined efforts to transcend the mind and body while studying the Brahma Sutra or any text. You don't need to really study Brahma Sutra. Any scripture or any text which talk, for example, the wonderful text called the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. If you can study it properly, and if you constantly meditate on what is told by Sri Ramakrishna, then you will attain Brahman Jnana, knowledge of Brahman. This was told by Swami Madhavanandaji, who was the president of Ramakrishna Math and Ramakrishna Mission. Prior to that, he was also the general secretary of the organization. So he said that if one regularly studies the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, then one gets Brahma Jnana, knowledge of Brahman. So we need to remind ourselves of that we need to approach this text as a means of moksha. So can text give us moksha? Definitely not. But can text remove ignorance? Definitely yes. So the text does removal of ignorance, and then our true nature is what is then left. So here, as we were studying towards the end of after the 8th sutra, again the question has been raised. Kutaschana pradhanam sat shabda vachyam. Again, earlier also this question was raised. Now also again the question is raised. How can pradhana not be the meaning of the word sat? So that is explained in the 9th sutra. Swapyayat. Swapyayat. It is because of deep sleep. What does it mean? It means that during deep sleep, in the Upanishads, in the Vedas, it is told that during the deep sleep, the individual soul or the soul which is in the realm of ignorance, that soul goes back to its source, goes back to its basis, adhisthana. So if in deep sleep, the individual soul has to go back to its source, then that source should be something which is conscious, because the individual soul is conscious. And so that source is definitely Sat that we know. So a conscious soul cannot merge into non-conscious pradhana. So therefore, pradhana is not the meaning of the word Sat. So this is explained by Bhagavad Shankaracharya Deva. Sometimes I think that this is such a common logic. It is not such some cryogenic technology or something. It's not rocket science. Cryogenic technology, same thing. So it's not rocket science. Again and again, why it is being told. Here, there is something else is also happening. Different concepts, different tenets of Sankhya philosophy are being refuted here. Also, different passages of the scriptures are being analyzed and that meaning is being derived. So that's why the same topic is being taken up again and again. So the different passages could be interpreted. So we now know that Pradhana is not the cause of the universe, not based only on one sentence of the Vedas or Upanishads, but based on various sentences. Already till now we have seen various sentences which prove that Pradhana is not the cause of the universe. Here Shankaracharya says, Tadeva sat shabda vachyam karanam prakritya shruyate yatra etat purushaha swapiti nama sata saumya tada sampanno bhavati swam apito bhavati tasmadenam swapiti ityachakshate swam hi apito bhavati. Chandogya Upanishad, 6th chapter, 8th section, 1st mantra. Iti esha shrutihi swapati iti etat purushasya loka prasiddham nama nirvakti. So here it is told, Tadeva sat shabda vachyam. That is, what is the meaning of that very word, sat? Karanam prakritya shruyate. So that particular word, sat, is the cause of the universe. And what is the meaning of the word sat? In that context, shruyate, the scripture or the Vedas or the Upanishads say this. Shruti says this. What does it say? Yatra etat purushaha. Yatra etat purushaha swapiti. So this is the sentence. Yatra etat purushaha swapiti nama sata somya tada sampanno bhavati. So when this purusha or when this soul, when this person is called swapiti, means when this person is called sleeping. So sleeping here, deep sleep. When someone is considered to be in deep sleep, that is the meaning. So Somya means, oh, beautiful looking person or cute person. So cute, like that. So cute. So our Shvetaketu, it seems, he enunciates this feeling in his father. Of course, father, for all parents, their children are very cute. Maybe that. So it says, now and then Somya. Somya means good looking one. Oh, good looking. That person becomes one with Sata Sampannaha Bhavati. Tada means when a person is said to be in deep sleep, actually that person becomes one with Sat. What is Sat? We all know. Eternal existence. That is Sat. Sat Chit Ananda. That is our true nature. Sat Chit Ananda. Eternal existence, eternal consciousness or knowledge, and eternal bliss. But unfortunately, we don't know this. So eternally, we are trying to protect our existence. Eternally means in one lifetime. And every time we are trying to know things. And every time we are trying to be happy. Because we don't know that we are already all these things. It's a very funny situation. So at that time when somebody is said to be in deep sleep, that person is one with Sat. Swam apito bhavati. So that person is swam, in oneself. Apitaha. Apitaha means gets merged. Bhavati. So that person is merged in oneself. When a person is said to be in deep sleep, that person is merged in oneself. So can you understand whether a person is in deep sleep or not? Question. So the answer is yes. Unless the person has this habit of sleeping with eyes open, which many people do, or is unless that person has this habit of sleeping with eyes open, even then you can. That is, the eyes will not move. That is when you know that a person is in deep sleep. Either that person is in a deep sleep or the person is acting as though sleeping. Only these two situations, when the eyes will not move. Otherwise, if a person is sleeping and the eyeballs don't move, that means that person is in deep sleep, which is called the non-rapid eye movement phase of sleep. Interestingly, there is a lot of research on sleep. Okay, people have got so less topics to do research upon. They have done tremendous research on sleep, also because it is, as I earlier told, it's an enigmatic phenomenon. It's very difficult to understand sleep. So, swam apito bhavati. In that stage, at that time, a person gets merged in oneself. Tasmat, therefore, enam swapiti iti achakshate. Everyone calls this person or tells that that person is merged in oneself. So while somebody is experiencing deep sleep, is in deep sleep, that person is said to be merged in oneself. Swam hi apito bhavati. They say that. Why? Because that person is definitely, he means indeed, merged in oneself. Iti esha shrutihi. This shruti or this passage from the Upanishad, swapati iti etat purushasya loka prasiddham nama nirvakti. Nirvakti defines. It defines the loka prasiddham nama, the popular name or popular term used for a person who is in deep sleep. What is that term? Swapiti. The term is swapiti. Swashabdena iha atma uchyate. How beautiful. See, actually, we should also learn to study the Bhashya without using any translation. Because it's very simple. Then it is very easy to learn Samskrita also. Many people, they are unable to learn Samskrita because they approach the matter in an opposite manner. They first put grammar. And one can be sure that if you are studying Samskrita and you are first trying to study grammar, you will be disinterested within a few days. Okay. And none of the language teaching methods today, everyone now says, don't study grammar in the beginning, study the language. Because all our mother tongues we know, it was not that when we started speaking, mother said, hey, no, not like that. This will be noun, this will be adverb, this will be adjective. Then you should know what is verb. Then you should, okay, which language you are studying. Okay. Then you should also know where it will be coming. I, what first person, second person, third person. You should know the grammar. Only then and somebody saying Amma, don't say that, not Amma. Like that, no mother corrects. So we learn the language just by seeing and watching, and we learn, and then afterwards we go to school and then they teach our grammar. So that is how language should be learned. So grammar, this, grammar, that, and in Samskrita, grammar is quite flexible. The number of exceptions for any rule is more than the rules, all rules put together, like that, something like that. It's very flexible, and all Indian languages, apart from some Northeastern languages, other than that, all Indian languages have Samskrita in them. Also, languages like Russian, German, Polish, all those languages have Samskrita. So Samskrita is very easy to learn. Swashabdena iha atma uchyate. Iha, here, swashabdena, by the word swa, atma uchyate. Atma is told or Atma is referred to. Yaha Atma, which Prakritah Sat Shabda Vachyah Tam Apito Bhavati Api Gato Bhavati Ityartha. So, Yaha Prakritah Sat Shabda Vachyah. Atma, by the word Swa, Atma is referred to, which is the meaning of the word Sat, and which is what has been told here, Prakritah, what has been told here, and it is also the meaning of the word Sat. Tam apitah bhavati, and the individual soul that gets merged in it. In it means in Atma or Brahman. Apigatah bhavati ityartha. That means it gets merged or it gets laya. Laya means again it gets dissolved in that. Api purvasya etehe layarthatvam prasiddham. Api purvasya. So there is this prefix of api, and there is the dhatu is ina. So it is prasiddham, it is popular, or it is established that when the dhatu, when the root word in has the prefix api, then it means merging. Prabhavapyaya iti utpatti pralayoho prabhavapyayau iti utpatti pralayoho prayoga darshanat. How do we know that when api is put as prefix, then in dhatu is used in the sense of dissolution or merging? Then prabhavapyayau, the word prabhavapyayau, we see the word prabhavapyayau, and this prabhavapyayau word is used in the sense of utpatti pralayayoho, in the sense of origin and destruction. Prayoga darshanat, we see this usage. So that is why we know that when the word in is prefixed by api, then it is used in the sense of dissolution or merging. Manaha prachara upadhi vishesha sambandhat indriya arthan grihna tad vishesha upadhi vishesha sambandhat. Upadhi vishesha sambandhat. Because of the relation of particular limiting adjuncts. Upadhi means limiting adjuncts. The body is a limiting adjunct of the soul because it is superimposed on the soul, on the Atman. Body is superimposed on the Atman. So what is superimposed is a limiting adjunct, which is called upadhi in Sanskrita. Vishesha means particular limiting adjunct. So because of sambandhat, because of the connection with a particular limiting adjunct, indriya arthan grihna, it, what does it do? Mind, through its extensions of sense organs, it indriya arthan grihnam. It grasps sense objects. So mind extends itself through sense organs and grasps sense objects because of a particular limiting adjunct. And tad vishesha apanno, and then it becomes identified with apanna, identified, attaining. It attains or gets identified with that particular limiting adjunct. For example, if we are talking about eyes, the mind extends itself through the eyes, and the eyes see a sight, drishya, and the mind becomes merged, or it becomes one with the sight. It becomes one with the sight. So you lose the idea that it's only an extension of the mind, that you are not the sight, you are not what you are seeing, but you become one with that. So that is because of the identification with that particular limiting adjunct. So here, what is the limiting adjunct? Here, the sight itself is the limiting adjunct. The eyes are the limiting adjunct. And so when that happens, jivo jagarti, in the waking state or in the state where there is the constant interaction with the sense objects, this kind of behavior of the jiva takes place. Tad vasana vishishtaha, and also it's vasana vishishtaha. The impressions of whatever happens now, whatever just now we saw, extension of mind through sense organs to sense objects and getting identified with sense objects. This leaves an impression on the mind. It leaves a recording on the mind. Just like old cassette tapes. Nowadays, nobody... See, the world has changed so fast. A cassette tape means nobody... It seems somebody has relaunched it. Some movie, they are again introducing this tape, audio tape. They are bringing it. Why? Because maybe they did not have better ideas or better scripts. So that's why they are doing. I don't know. But anyway, so this tape, in those tapes, what happened? One used to record those tapes. And if you record over something and the recording is not properly done, then you could hear both the previous recording also, this also, etc. It will be a very wonderful affair. So like that, recording is being done of all experience on the chitta or mind. So tadvasana vishishtaha, the special recording, that means being influenced by the recording, what happens? Swapnan pashyan, one sees. So being identified with recordings of what you experienced in the waking state, a person swapnan pashya, a person with those impressions or recordings of the experiences or experience of the waking state, the mind then vasana vishishtaha, it is endued with those recordings, it is endowed with those recordings, imbued with those recordings, and then what happens? It sees dreams, swapnan pashyan, manah shabda vachyo bhavati. So this is the meaning of the word mana, mind. Shabdavachi, the meaning of the word mind is that which first extends itself to sense organs and to sense objects and gets attached, identified with those sense objects in the waking state. In the dream state, because of the recordings or the impressions of those sense objects, it sees it in dreams. This is the meaning of the word mind. How beautiful, how wonderful. See? Sa upadhi dvayo uparame sushuptavasthayam upadhi krita vishesha abhavat swatmani pralina iva iti swam hi apito bhavati iti uchyate. So there are two upadhi. What is the upadhi? Waking state and dream state, two limiting adjuncts. When sa upadhi dvaya uparame, when uparama, subsiding, when both the upadhis or the conditions, limiting conditions, that is waking and dreaming states, when they subside, when they are not there, sushuptavasthayam, in the state of deep sleep, upadhi krita vishesha abhavat, because of the absence, abhava. Abhavat means because of the absence. What absence? Vishesha abhavat, because of the absence of the particular condition. What particular condition? Upadhi krita vishesha abhavat, because of the absence of the particular condition created by krita, created by upadhi, limiting adjunct. So when you write this in English, it becomes totally confusing. So that's why people think, oh, Brahma Sutra is difficult. But if you read in Sanskrit, it is very simple. Because of some condition which has been created because of superimposition. That condition, when it is not there, because of an absence of such condition, swatmani pralina iva iti. So because there is no superimposition of waking state or dream state, the jiva swatmani pralina iva. You see how Shankaracharya is very careful. He says, iva, as though the jiva is merged in one's own nature, swatmani, one's own nature, or in atma. Because actually in Sushupti we don't get merged in our nature. There is this causal body, that is ignorance. So as though, iva iti. Swam hi apito bhavati iti uchyate. That is why the Upanishad says, or the scripture says, that swam hi apito bhavati. In oneself, definitely one got merged. Yatha, just like hridaya shabda nirvachanam shrutya darshitam. Shrutya, in the Shruti, or by the Shruti. Shruti means scripture, means Vedas, means Upanishads. Darshitam, it shows by the Shruti. Shruti has shown this. Shrutya darshitam means it has been shown by the Shruti, passive voice. The Shruti shows this. Hridaya shabda nirvachanam, the definition of the word hridaya. The definition of the word hridaya. How does it show? Chandogya Upanishad, 8th chapter, 3rd section, 3rd mantra. Sava esha atma hridi tasyai tadeva niruktam hridyayam iti tasmad hridayam. Tasmad hridayam. So, iti. How does the Shruti show the definition of the word hridaya? It says, Sava esha atma hridi. This is the atma which is in hridaya. Tasya etadeva niruktam. Hridyayam iti. Hridi ayam iti. That this is the tasya etadeva. This indeed is the meaning of the word hrid. Hrid. This hridi. Hridi ayam iti. So this is the meaning of the word hridi. Hridi ayam iti. Ayam means this. So in hridi ayam iti, in the heart, tasmad hridayam. Therefore, this Atma is called Hridaya, because ayam means it here refers to Atma. That ayam resides in Hridaya. Hridi means in the Hridaya, heart. So heart means, of course, here we are not talking about biological heart. That's why I did not use the word heart. Hridaya. Yatha va, also like Ashanayado, Ashanayod, Anya Shabda Pravritti Moolam. Anya. Ashanaya Udanya Shabda Pravritti Moolam. Another example. Ashanaya Udanya Shabda Pravritti Moolam. So, just like by the definition or by the nature or the root of the words Ashanaya and Udanya, the Shruti, Darshayati Shrutihi. The root which is shown by, or the definition of these words which is shown by the Shruti, that is the scriptures, Vedas, Upanishads. What is that? Now here 6th chapter of the Chandogya Upanishad, 8th section and 2nd and 5th mantras. Apa eva tad ashitam nayante teja eva tad pitam nayate. So, apa eva tad ashitam nayante. Apa eva. Eva means indeed. Apa means water. Tad ashitam. Tad means that person. Ashitam, whatever that person has eaten. Okay. Somebody is asking what page are we on? Now, because we are studying Shankaracharya's Brahma Sutra Bhashya, which is a Sanskrit text, and there is no one text we are following. So, I don't know what book they are following. So, if it is Brahma Sutra Bhashya of Shankaracharya, there is no Sanskrit text there. It is only English, Shankaracharya translated by Gambhiranandaji, published by Advaita Ashrama. If that is the book this person is following, there is no Sanskrit text there. So it is only English page number. That right now I am unable to tell that. And if it is the 3-volume book published by Chaukhamba, where it is a commentary also, and also Tika by Govindananda, which is called Ratna Prabha. Then in that first part, 264th page. But more than page, we have to understand this is the commentary of Shankaracharya on the 9th Sutra of the Brahma Sutras. So, Apa eva tad ashitam nayante. What does it mean? Tad means that person, one person. Whatever that person has eaten, ashitam, eaten, whatever food that person has consumed, apa eva nayante. It is indeed water which dilutes it or makes it into liquid. It liquefies it and converts it into essence. It converts it into the essence of food. So water is the medium which converts food into something which can be digested, and it liquefies it. That is the idea. Teja eva tat pitam nayate. And whatever such liquefaction happens afterwards, teja eva, indeed it is fire, which tat pitam nayate, which again takes whatever is liquefied like this and nayate, takes it and removes the water. That means dehydrates it and converts it into energy and blood. That is the meaning. Yet people say, whenever somebody says, now it is politically incorrect, maybe what I'm saying, I have no political affiliation, so I can as very well say whatever it might sound. People, the moment you say that in the Upanishads there is a lot of science, then people will say, ah, they simply always make such claims. Because neither, why they say that? Because neither the person who is making the claim has studied Chandogya Upanishad, nor the person who is listening to the claim also has not studied. So when they will say this person also is telling that, is also not convinced. They are saying everything is there scientific in Vedas. This fellow has never studied the Vedas. And also the person listening, of course, is not studied. But here, see what wonderful statement. Food is going inside your body and it is being made liquid. We don't need any more explanation than the gory vomit which comes out. Okay, so it is just, it goes down and how it comes. So it is liquefied. Of course, it is liquefied. And then how it is becoming blood and energy, prana, energy. How does it become? Because of digestion. What is digestion? Only fire. It is just fire burning. Digestion is nothing but one fire in your stomach. That's all. So they will say there are so many acids are there. This is coming. It just means that. So teja will, if you don't eat, then you will understand that there will be, it will start corroding your intestines, etc. Then the doctor will say you got ulcer. So that is what here is teja eva tat pitam nayate. So here this example is given to show that the words ashanaya, ashanaya and udanya, they are explained or they are defined by the Vedas or the Upanishads. Just like that, iticha, evam, in this manner, in similarly, swam atmanam sat shabda vachyam apito bhavati. So that word swam atmanam, one in one's own self, which is sat shabda vachyam, that atma or one's true nature is the meaning of the word sat. Apito bhavati. In that one gets merged. Iti imam artham swapiti nama nirvachanena darshayati. So this meaning has been darshayati, shown by the Upanishads, shown by the scripture Shruti, through nirvachanena, through definition of swapiti nama, of the word swapiti. Of the word swapiti, the Upanishad defines the word swapiti, and by defining the word swapiti, it has given us this understanding that the person in Sushupti, in deep sleep, merges with Atman, which is the meaning of the word Sat. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ramakrishna Arpanamastu.